Welcome back to the SCIF. I am Matt. That is Stu. We are the Green Beret Life. Thank you for joining us this Tuesday. I was going to say I'm going to pass it off to Stu like I always do and say, hey, what are we going to talk about today? But, you know, we had some huge Supreme Court rulings come down, and unfortunately, we have two Supreme Court justices that say that they're conservative, but they aren't. They're 100% politicians, and instead of doing things that are right for our country, it seems like they're afraid of the woke leftist mob. So one of these decisions today was so important, and they completely dropped the ball. So Amy Coney Barrett and Roberts are complete failures as far as I'm concerned for what happened today. I don't know what happened to Stu there. Stu seems like he is gone. Stu, can you hear me? So maybe Stu will come back here. But, so yeah, we had the Supreme Court decision today that really affects our country in a horrible way. I'm going to text Stu here and see if he's still on, because he's the one that's hosting the show here. And without him on here, I don't know how we can even be broadcasting. I might just be broadcasting to an empty computer here. So, but anyways, we had a decision that did go our way, which was the trans sports, which is important, upholding that states can ban transgender from competing in women's sports, but it's not a nationwide deal. So it only allows specific states to do it. And I believe there's 20-some states that already allow this anyways. But it's hard to even think about this. Yes, that's a victory. I mean, that should be a common sense victory, but that's a victory. But the real important decision today had to do with birthright citizenship. So it's still legal for these Chinese birthing houses in the Mariana Islands. So apparently you can be a Chinese citizen sent and give birth in Mariana, in the Mariana Islands, and then that child is automatically a U.S. citizen. Family goes back to China. Now you've got a U.S. citizen that the Chinese government can use to exploit our country forever. This is not what the 14th Amendment was set up for. None of this. It was set up for children of slaves. It wasn't set up for foreigners coming to our country, giving birth, and then automatically that child's a citizen without either one of the parents being a citizen. This is not the intent of this. Everybody knew it. So that means this decision by Roberts, you know, the Democrats stick together no matter what. The leftists stick together. Sotomayor, Kagan, Ketanji Brown Jackson, they all vote the same way every single time, right? But we've got Chief Justice Roberts and Justice Amy Coney Barrett. And anybody that looks at this thing, how could you come to any other solution than looking at how the founders laid this out? And how could you come to any other conclusion? As far as birthright citizenship, it has to be if you are a child, offspring of at least one U.S. citizen. This is insane. It's nuts.
Well, and that's what we were talking about at the beginning or before the show with this was, you know, if one of your parents was a U.S. citizen, then you're a U.S. citizen. But just because your parent is able to make it across the border legally or illegally, especially illegally, before her water breaks and you drop out in the dirt and magically you're granted U.S. citizenship and all that entails, when your family and parents have done nothing to earn or deserve that, in the sense of going through the immigration process that this country has in place. It just
it cheapens our citizenship. It cheapens our citizenship. I mean, what is our citizenship then? Is it free? Is it free to everybody? This is insane.
As long as you make it across the border before you have a kid.
Yeah. What this today proves that they're political animals, Roberts and Amy Coney Barrett, or something worse. No.
Well, Roberts has been ever since Obamacare. I think Obamacare was when he flipped, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yes, that's about the time where he went through all of this and tossed Obamacare a lifeline and said it's a tax. When they were saying it wasn't a tax.
After the lawyers arguing it were saying, no, it wasn't. He comes out saying it is. Yeah.
So, which, I mean, this is absolutely nuts. There's something seriously wrong with those two on the court. Now, the three leftists, you know what they're going to do. They're in lockstep every single time. And let me tell you, when they get into power, they're not throwing the other side a bone at all.
Oh, hell no. And that's what is so frustrating when you're rooting for the Republicans.
I didn't know Brett Kavanaugh joined. I thought it was just Amy Coney Barrett and Roberts. So Kavanaugh joined with them as well. Yep. There's another disappointment.
Yep.
There's another disappointment there. So yeah, this is absolutely crazy. This is absolutely crazy. All of the fighting we had to do to get Kavanaugh in, and this guy's done this before too. The only one who seems like he's pretty consistent is Gorsuch.
Well, my thing is, I don't.
Besides Alito and Thomas, obviously, were rock solid.
I really think it should be, based on the law. But the thing is, we can't play by one set of rules when the other side doesn't and expect it to be a fair engagement.
Well, the other one today, that Amy Coney Barrett, now this was just her and Roberts, where this was yesterday, where they basically said it was out of Mississippi, basically saying that you didn't have to count the votes all on election day. So they could, Washington State has something like 21 days that they can count their votes.
Yep, I've got that story here. And that's exactly right. They're saying right here in a 5-4 decision, the majority opinion authored by Amy Coney Barrett, struck down the challenge that allows mail-in or absentee ballots that arrive after Election Day. Roberts and the three left-leaning, because we know they're not going to divert, joined. And the thing is, it says, mail-in ballots, while entirely justifiable for certain voters, such as military personnel stationed or deployed away from their home voting jurisdictions, other than that, there is no legitimacy. It's always been acknowledged that Democrat voters are more likely to utilize mail-in ballots than Republicans. However, much of the suspicion surrounds late dumps of mail-in ballots in several past elections that favor the Democrat candidate overwhelmingly. You remember when there were precincts reporting in, and this isn't necessarily mail-in, but precincts reported in where there were 0 votes for the Republican candidate.
This just happened in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
The guy won, and next thing you saw, he's in second. And next thing you know, he's so far ahead, the girl's crying who was in third because it's this ranked choice voting nonsense. And they keep counting. All of the votes that came in were for the 2 Democrats, not the Republican. And we're powerless to do anything about it. And then the media will go on. There's no evidence of any widespread voter fraud. This is what they did in 2020 when it was coming out that there were more people voting than there were people registered to vote in the frickin' state.
But I love their circular logic when they're like, well, we need to investigate this. Well, there's no evidence. Well, that's because you won't investigate it. Well, we can't investigate it without evidence. Well, we need. Wait, what? So it's a circular argument. It's, well, we need evidence to investigate. Well, you have to look into it to obtain the evidence. Well, yeah, but we can't look into it to obtain the evidence without evidence to look into it. They refuse to acknowledge it. But Alito made clear in his dissent and this is a key one that I really highlighted, watching ballots trickle in after election day and flip races does nothing but damage public trust in our system of government. And Kavanaugh said if the apparent winner the morning after the election ends up losing due to late arriving ballots, charges of a rigged election could explode. And that's the thing, is it leaves too much room for shenanigans. And that's why the Democrats love it, because they abuse the crap out of it. But that's exactly what it is. It leaves them a window to manipulate.
Well, and you look at it's almost the same thing that we were just talking about. The Democrats stick together. So in these leftist states, they stick together and cheat their ass off. In my opinion, it's an opinion, allegedly, right? But we saw it. We saw this going on in Los Angeles. We saw it all over the place in 2020. We've seen it up in Minnesota. You know, the Al Franken election, where they found a car full of ballots. It just all happened to go for Al.
We got boxes of ballots in the trunk of this car in the parking garage.
Yeah. And so, I mean, this is nuts. This is absolutely nuts. And this is why we need to put pressure on these.
Well, I don't see how.
Hold on, let me get this. The rhino trash that is blocking the SAVE Act, because that's our only chance here. This is our only chance with this, or we're going to have theft, fraud, and abuse of our elections going on from here on in. We must pass the SAVE Act, and there needs to be teeth in it. Oh, go ahead, Stu.
What I was going to say is, I mean, look at all of the safeguards, in quotes, that go in place to chain of custody on your ballot whenever you go and do in-person mailing.
But in liberal states, and remember in Philadelphia, they just kicked, everybody, Philadelphia, Detroit, they kicked all of the conservative ballot watchers out. And then they covered the windows with pizza boxes. Remember all of this? They brought in the sheriff to kick them out. Yeah.
But I'm just saying there's not even the semblance of chain of custody with these mail-in ballots and these drop-off boxes that people are collecting. There's no supervision. There's no chain of custody. There's no confirmation process to ensure that person is who they're purporting to be. It is
ballot harvesting.
Wild West.
Yeah.
I mean, hell, we put up better. We put together elections with more integrity in Iraq than we do in the United States.
Yeah, where you got the little mark on your hand,
the purple dye on the thumb.
Yeah. So
and that's insane that the United States can set up and implement more controlled elections to ensure fairness in Iraq than we can do in our own country, because it's by design. Mm-hmm. I keep saying I don't understand, and I keep saying that it's crazy, and I keep saying, there's no way, but it's all by design. It's all obviously by design, or it would be fixed by the SAVE Act, like you just said.
Mm-hmm. So this guy Thune is going to drag his feet. We don't got the votes. Yeah. Well, if he won't get rid of the parliamentarian who keeps ripping stuff out, a leftist parliamentarian, which he has the power to get rid of, he refuses to do it. The question is why. So I think, I was thinking about this, and maybe there needs to be some research done, Stu, on these rhinos. Who supports these rhinos? What companies, what industries, what special interest groups support these rhinos? And maybe the way you deal with these rhinos, is you go after the companies that support them and the organizations that support them and the groups that you boycott the shit out of them. If you find out that ABC Chicken is behind one of these rhinos in the Senate, and the reason why they're forcing these rhinos to do what they want them to do is they want illegal immigrant labor. Well, you need to start calling these companies out. So I think we need to start doing research and seeing who donates, what political action committees, who are the people behind the money that are flowing to these politicians. Who do they go and work for when they're done?
Oh yeah. Where do they get these jobs on these boards? And they'll be on 2 or 3 or 4 boards, bringing in hundreds of thousands of dollars.
So maybe we got to be smarter, because this is the Democrats do this. This is what they do.
Oh yeah.
So I think that's probably how we have to get them, because right now, has anybody seen or heard from Mitch McConnell at all? He's behind the scenes voting no on everything, but has anybody heard this guy speak or anything?
Mm-mm.
When was the last public appearance?
A health thing, and he's doing the ghost voting.
Well, remember when he fell a couple times a few years ago, and remember when he went catatonic? That's happened twice. Speaking, and we haven't seen him. We haven't heard from him.
He's been hospitalized for the past 2 months or past 2 weeks. Really,
and he's one of the constant no's on the SAVE Act. And then his handpicked people. John Thune is one of his handpicked guys. John Thune was going to retire from the Senate, and Mitch McConnell begged him to stay. I wonder why. Ranked choice voting was manipulated by Mitch McConnell up in Alaska to get Lisa Murkowski over the real conservative elected. Yeah. That was all. Money was taken from pro-MAGA candidates in 2022 before Trump was back in office and diverted to pro-McConnell rhino candidates, right? So you start to look at these people. Who are they? The troublemakers right now. Cornyn is obviously a troublemaker. Cassidy, but these guys have been defeated in primaries, so they're going to do whatever they can to make sure that Republicans lose coming up, because they hate Trump so much. You have Susan Collins, who is becoming more agreeable because she's in this fight up in Maine against this fake farmer, whoever
the one with the legitimate
connections, yes, with the Nazi tattoo,
and not just any tattoo, the symbol of the guards of the concentration camps.
Yeah. So, and but then the other one is Tom Tillis. Obviously, he was bragging. I saw him on TV bragging. Yeah, and people think that even if we pass it now, that it's going to be able to be implemented before the 2028 midterms election. You just don't know how it works, right? Yeah. He's doing all of this. These people are vile, and we've said on this show, and it's not anything earth shaking, as most of you already know this. The rhino is more dangerous than the Democrat, because at least you know what the Democrats are going to do. We know how, taking it back to the Supreme Court, how Elena Kagan, how Sotomayor, and how Ketanji Brown Jackson are going to vote. We know that. Okay. Yeah. So we know going into anything that has to do with the Constitution and, living up to the Constitution, we know that if it's a hot button leftist issue, they're going to stick together and vote that way no matter what, 100% of the time. But we've got.
Well, it doesn't have to be hot button. Yeah. It just has to be something Republicans want.
But we have two people. Well, we got throw Kavanaugh in there too, because he's done this more than once as well.
Yeah, there's at least 3 that are wish. Well,
yeah,
one is supremely wishy-washy.
Yeah, so you've got 3 of them. Okay, they can go either way. They're political animals, right?
Yep.
And it's the same way. And that's what makes them dangerous, because we know that the left will never betray their base and go a specific way, just out of the blue. They won't do it, right? They won't do it. You can add it to Congress, and they will not. They stick together. But we have these wishy-washy mealy mouths who may be doing it on purpose because they don't want to be in charge And they don't care if they're in charge, because if their masters happen to want Donald Trump's hands tied, then I'm okay with them. They're saying to themselves they're okay with losing leadership of the House or the Senate if it exposes Donald Trump to at least tying his hands or impeachment. I truly believe this is what happened in 2018 and was engineered.
Well, think about it. Let's think about it this way, Matt. Who does the media, the majority of the media, who do they support and cover and carry the water for? The Democrats.
100%.
So your best bet as a Republican member of Congress to stay in power is to support the Democrats, because if they're in power, the media is going to cover for them. You can be the one fighting the good fight and standing up to them. But the fact of the matter is, it doesn't matter. The shit that's going on in the country doesn't affect you. You've got the money coming in. You're making the millions of dollars on a $200,000 a year salary. It doesn't matter to you whether a Republican is in charge or a Democrat is in charge.
Correct.
You don't want to be in charge because Republican constituents will vote you out of office. But if Democrats are in power and you're fighting the good fight, well, he's one of us, by golly. He's standing up to those darn Democrats. There's no reason for a Republican part or a rhino, a member, a rhino, to want Republicans to be in charge. It's only a negative. Yeah.
Well, there are some rumblings I heard, and I don't know I don't know if you could verify any of this or not, but I've been hearing rumblings that in the background, other senators are working against the SAVE Act as well. And some of those are people that we think, oh shucks, they're just a good old guy. One of them likes colloquialisms, and I just saw an interview with him the other day, and he sounds like he's all in for the SAVE Act. But rumor is behind the scenes, he's not. Kennedy. Now this is a rumor, right? Allegedly. And the other one is Tom Cotton, allegedly, right? So we got a rhino problem. And we dealt with a couple of them in primaries, but the reason why Trump's agenda hasn't been pushed forward forcibly, things would go so well if they would just push the Make America First agenda through, right? But they won't. This is the same thing they did in his first term, right? And we've got the numbers, we've got the people, and other slim margins, thanks to some irregularities in the 2024 election, right?
Well, there are a handful of Republicans right now that are kind of clogging things up by refusing to move things forward until this SAVE Act is voted on.
Well, you've got in the House, you've got Anna Paulina Luna, you've got Byron Donalds, you've got a handful of Republicans in the House that are starting to gum things up and pointing their finger directly at the Senate. Mike Johnson, give him credit where credit is due, pointing fingers directly at the Senate. They've passed this over and over and over again, and the Senate won't get it done. Now you have some good guys in the Senate trying to push it across, like Mike Lee, right? Now, Senator Scott from Florida here is jumping on board finally, right? And you have some of these senators really trying to push this across. I believe Ron Johnson is always reliable and things like this. But but right now, I think that's fantastic. And you saw this thing with Scott Pressler, right? When he went to South Dakota's, everybody thinks South Dakota is a conservative state, which it is. But don't discard that these states like Texas, you saw it when they went after Ken Paxton. These states are run by rhinos, establishment rhinos. So Scott Pressler goes out to this big convention, Republican convention in South Dakota, and John Thune and his cronies had him thrown out, even though he had a ticket, which ended up backfiring on John Thune, by the way, because he's putting pressure on Thune for the SAVE Act. So we all need to keep this fight up. We need to make phone calls. We need to call our senators. We need to call the switchboard. We need to call the the leader of the Senate, John Thune, right? And put pressure on these people. Trump's putting pressure on them, but they are fighting Trump every step of the way. So we need to, I mean, just passing that stupid War Powers Act in the Senate. Think about that. Think about that in the middle of doing what needs to be done, trying to keep our economy going, right? And these people are trying to sabotage it every step of the way from behind.
Yeah, let's change the rules in the middle of it.
Yeah.
He has an action that is, you know, it's taking longer than anybody wanted. Mm-hmm. But these are the same people saying, well, if he can't get it done in a week,
you're not doing anything in a week. What's ever been done. Yeah. Taking longer than everybody, but faster than what's ever been done. And
I mean, they were saying from the beginning, if Trump doesn't get this handled in 2 weeks, it's a failure.
Yeah.
But says who? You know, by what metric?
Trying to set it up. Well, it's exactly. And what they're doing is they're opening up doors for the Iranians or the IRGC commanders, because they're not speaking in unison, right? To drag this out. They're playing right into the hands of the Iranians, and they know it. They know it.
Yeah.
This is why they're doing it.
If they were supporting, they would be in lockstep saying, you know, there's the full authority of the United States is behind the president to resolve this, you know, as quickly as possible. Iran would be much more open to negotiations and realizing that's a united front. We're not going to gain anything by stretching this out, but by showing the chinks in the armor, by showing the cracks in the foundation, what the Democrats are doing is basically telling the Iranians, hey, just hang in there. Hang in there. We're going to get this stopped. We're going to end this. And it's not going to be allowed to come to a full resolution. And then next election cycle, the Democrats, Trump failed in Iran. Iran still has this. He failed in his mission. You know, he's a failure of a president. Well, you cut his legs out from under him and then is like, well, we cut him off at the knees, so he's a failure at running a marathon. It's like but people are stupid. People have the 10-second Tom attention span.
Well, I'm going to basically make it very clear what Stu and I are trying to say here. And you've heard us say it before. We think this happened in 2018. Okay. And this is our opinion. This isn't fact. This is our opinion. But I truly believe the rhinos are intentionally trying to tank the leadership in 2028 elections to open up Trump to either having his hands tied or impeachment. Okay. And they're doing that because they serve special interests, not you. They serve special interests, not you. They want the status quo in Washington, D.C. To hell with our country. Let our country go down the drain. They don't care. They don't care about you. And it's not that they just hate Trump. They hate you for putting Trump in power. They hate you for putting Trump as the head of the Republican Party. So we need to gather up. We need to circle the wagons, and we need to make sure we stand up and bring this one home in 2028 and work again, or in 2020 and 2026, and work again in 2028, right? To make sure that we primary as many of these damn rhinos out as we possibly can once again.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Stu. I'm sorry.
No, I lost it. But the thing what you were saying about them, you know, looking to try and get Trump and have the impeachments and everything else, it rolls right into what I was saying before. There's no reason for a rhino Republican to want the Republican Party to be in charge, because look at all the campaigning they can do against that. You know, I'm fighting the Democrats.
Political theater, Stu. It's political theater. Yeah.
It's not even political theater. It's just about freaking kabuki theater. They're all in costumes. They're all playing pretend. They're all hiding behind something. They're all full of shit.
They can vote for things that they know are going to lose, right? They can do all of that. Fight the good fight, like Stu was saying. These rhinos are an act. The problem, we're not saying everybody is a rhino, because we have some good people that are fighting.
They're just vastly outnumbered.
Yeah. And we need to support them. We need to put pressure. We need to put pressure on this damn leadership and I'm talking about the leadership in the Senate. Because
Yeah.
if he was a leader, okay, if he was a leader, he would take these Republicans that are pissing and moaning. See, right now, Tom Tillis is leaving, Cassidy's leaving, right? Cornyn's leaving, McConnell's leaving, right? Thune didn't even want to be there, right? Murkowski knows that her days are numbered, right? So these people don't give a shit. They'll burn it all down on the way out.
They'll throw the match in the house on their way out the door. They do not care.
But if you had leadership that would go to these states and say, "Oh, you want to play this way? Okay, we're going to have you removed. We're going to have a recall done. How about that? You're not going to finish out your term. You're going to go down in history as someone who's been recalled." And it's like, oh shit, right? Or hey, how about this? How about, we hid this for years and years and years, and we even paid for it with taxpayer money. That's the other thing
the slush funds to pay off the sexual harassment claims. Yeah. They don't talk about that.
So time to start pulling out these cards too and say, what's with here's you, here's Ramon, but what's with the midget? From remember Back to School. I don't get it. Here's a picture of you. Here's a picture of Ramon. But what's with the midget? Rodney.
But everybody wants the Epstein files in the middle, but nobody wants to do let's release, and again, Republican, Democrat, whatever, let it out. How many people have been paid off to settle, sexual harassment claims against how many people? Where's that information? Why is that hidden?
Yeah, exactly.
Public servants, you're paying for it with my money.
They voted to release that, and a lot of people are saying the reason why they voted on this is because most of these people are already gone, right? Most of them are gone, and but this is why we got to be smarter. Where are they getting their money? How did they get their money? Who is supporting them? Who are the puppeteers that are behind them? What special interest group, corporations, any of this? This is
Soros and the Tides Foundation.
Yeah.
USAID money being funneled back through.
Well, I'm even talking like a lot of these guys are simple, like major industries, U.S. Chamber of Commerce, Walmart, Target. I'm not saying these are the ones. I'm just using them as examples. Tyson Foods, Big Chicken, right? That are buying up all the small farmers all over the place. Yeah. Because they're being they were being run out during the Biden administration under these onerous environmental dictates that they had to live up to, that they were designed to collapse the small farmer so the big farmer could come in. And that's an easier option when you're a crooked government like the Biden administration, is to go and do a deal with the five big farming companies that own 90% of the farms. If you can get rid of the small ones, you can get rid of the pesky little small farmer. And that's what they want it for everything. The small, whatever industry it is, you can say the same thing. And these are the people that we need to find out what company it is. So if it is a big chicken company or something, or a big retailer, they need to be boycotted, right? Because there's
the same thing that like Walmart did. They were they were pushing for all of these regulations in business and all of this, insurance and all of this stuff that smaller retailers couldn't compete with, and that would put them out of business. And then Walmart could absorb it because they were already such a large business. And that's why when you go to a lot of smaller towns, downtown areas, they're gone. They're wiped off.
Completely gone.
And now it's turned into the only place you can go to for things are Walmart or Amazon or something else, because your small mom and pop that might have something's no longer in existence.
Surprised the shit that used to be real cheap is now starting to get more expensive, isn't it? Because there's no freaking competition.
Yeah.
So there you go. So yeah, this is an issue that we need to be smart. There's a way to deal with this stuff. We need to be smart. And this is what we need to do. We need to start putting pressure on the people behind these rhinos that are, we know, behind the scenes, manipulating them to go against the agenda that we all voted for. So When you elect a senator, that is senator is supposed to work for the people that elected him and the country, right?
Yeah.
Not special interest groups. None of it. First of all, there should be laws saying you can't go to work for anybody, any of these industries, right? You can't take these sweetheart jobs when you retire from or get out of to go work for these people, right? And especially if you had a position of power that could have facilitated something for these industries, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we should get all of this big corporate money out of politics. Gone. It should all be gone, right? You should not have access as a big corporation or a big industry like the U.S. Chamber of Commerce or a big union or any of this shit, teachers, any to have the amount of power that you have. Think of what teachers unions today do. Just think of State Street, think of State Street, think of BlackRock, think of what's Vanguard. State Street and Vanguard are primarily public employee union money. And these people can manipulate whole industries because that slush fund has gotten so big. Those retirement funds. So they're the ones. This is why you see companies like Anheuser-Busch hiring transgender activists and destroying their own brand. Right?
That was still beautiful to watch.
Yeah. So, well, now the number one selling beer, I believe, in the world is Modelo. It used to be Anheuser-Busch.
Yeah.
I mean, think about that. This is what State Street and shit like that. This is how they manipulate things.
Yeah.
So, do we have any comments, Stu, from anybody?
Let me see what we've got over here. We had a couple. Yeah, Freedom was saying this is when we were talking about the birthright citizenship and that sort of thing. Freedom had posted, he said, it would be great if our military could step in and enforce our Constitution.
Yeah, I mean, well, you know, the Constitution is the Constitution. You just hear how people pervert it. You know, today I'm listening about this birthright citizenship, and I just caught a little bit. It was on Fox News, Harold Ford going off and how this is such a benefit. And this is the way our country was founded. He was getting all indignant about it. And Kayleigh McEnany came in and went through the 14th Amendment and completely mopped the floor with this guy, you know? So the left pretends like they give a shit about the Constitution. They don't give a shit.
When it's up, ask them about the Second Amendment. Oh, well,
that only meant muskets.
That's open to interpretation.
That only meant muskets, and you know, back the whole machinations they have to go through in order to.
The First Amendment is only, you know, newspapers and teletype. It doesn't mean, you know, the internet, because the internet wasn't around then, right?
Nobody should be involved with hate speech, so it needs to be illegal. You need to be arrested.
Yeah.
No, all speech is protected. Sorry, not just speech that you feel comfortable with.
Yeah. Bless you.
Yeah, but holy smokes, man! I mean, we're in a fight, and we better start acting. Right?
There was one good thing that came out of the Supreme Court, and that was the trans sports.
I talked about it already. When you were
okay.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. That's a great thing that happened. But in the grand scheme of things, our country's not going to be destroyed from that one way or another. This birthright citizenship will destroy our country.
Yeah, much bigger threat.
By design, like Steve stated, by design. So we've today was the last 2 days have generally been a loser from the Supreme Court. Now that doesn't mean that we don't have the power to put pressure on our elected officials. We have the House, we have the Senate, we have the White House, and we have the judiciary. And look how weak we are. We've got it all, and look how weak we are.
It's insane.
Yeah, the White House.
Well, that's what we talked about. The Democrats, with having one branch of government, will ram through whatever they want.
They've got
it goes right back to not wanting power.
They've got no branches right now, and we have the parliamentarian in the Senate who's a Democrat, a leftist Democrat, and we have Republicans in charge, and they won't get rid of her. They won't get rid of her.
Yep.
It's insane. It's insane how we've gotten here. The White House is pushing. This is why I say Donald Trump has the weight of the world on his shoulders. He has the weight of the world on his shoulders, and the guy keeps pushing forward one way or another.
Yeah, so it is amazing because, well, like we were just saying, with holding 0 branches of the government, the Democrats are still getting what they want. Republicans control all 3 branches of the government and just can't manage to get anything done because of those darn obstructionist Democrats. And nothing to me shows we don't want to do anything any more than that.
Yeah, you're 100% correct.
We've got Arishiba on YouTube that says it's because the leftist radicals are unchecked and the rhinos. And that's the truth. There is no checks put on anything, and the rhinos are the ones that you thought were there to help you and wind up stabbing you in the back.
That's Andrew, and Andrew is 100% correct on this. And the rhinos are our biggest threat, in my opinion. They're our biggest threat because they're the ones, like you just said, they're stabbing you right in the back. Yeah. And you don't know which way they're going to go. So on the gun stuff, they generally go with us, right? Yeah. Right? They'll go with us on the gun stuff. When it comes to immigration, bullshit, they won't go with us because the industries that want the illegals here. So, 100%. What else we got, Stu? You wanted to talk about some assault weapons bans coming?
Yeah, there's not an assault weapons ban coming. There's actually a couple of cases that, concerning the assault weapons ban, some of these states are trying to implement that is actually finally making it to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court will take on a bunch of nonsense like, well, not that it isn't important, but like Matt said, it's there's a hierarchy of importance. And the men and women's sports, does it need to be addressed? Yes. Is it more important than birthright citizenship or the Second Amendment? No. And that's my personal opinion based on, my personal priorities. But with that being said, it looks like the Supreme Court's finally taking up some of these bans that these states are trying to do. They're taking up Viramontes versus Cook County, which that's in Illinois, and Grant v. Higgins.
It's Crook County. It's Crook County. That's Chicago.
Chicago, yep. Yeah. Which is tied with the National Association for Gun Rights versus Lamont. They revolve around the concept of an assault weapon ban, and as of today, the Supreme Court has merged the 2 cases into one and granted certiorari. I think that's where they'll hear them. In short, we're going to hear about assault weapons unless something very strange happens during the case. It's likely to cause them to be overturned nationwide. Which this is the funny thing that's being pointed out. There's a chance this case, or more properly, these cases, could have implications beyond the notion of assault weapons. Several states have banned or restricted other arms, such as Glock pistols, because of the possibility that criminals may illegally modify them to be fully automatic. Never mind that the act of doing so is already illegal. The possession by a felon is illegal, but they need to pass another law to make it more illegal. We're gonna outlaw the legal item because somebody might do something illegal with it illegally. We're going to outlaw hammers because, someone might do something. So it would be nice to hopefully have some Supreme Court back.
Say that again, Stu.
What, we're going to outlaw something that's legal because somebody might do something illegal illegally?
The other night, dude, I was at an IDPA match, and I was talking to this guy about a car. He had this beautiful G80 M3. I mean, beautiful. We were talking about it. He's like, every 21-year-old kid wants to race me with this car, on the highway. So you have one guy that's not being stupid. And so anyways, he's telling this to everybody. And I said to him, what did I say to him? Everybody thought it was so funny. He said, that should be a t-shirt. And I said, you're never too old to do something stupid. Everybody thought it was so funny, and that should be a t-shirt. But I think what
it should be t-shirt. It goes right there of, this is why women live longer than men.
Yeah, exactly.
But no. I really hope some of these, because I can't remember, it's eluding me right now. What was the big Supreme Court decision that had come down that really put a hamper on some of these?
Heller.
The Heller decision was a huge one.
Yeah.
And the frustrating part is, even with Heller, these municipalities and these states and these cities are still passing these same types of laws that directly contradict Heller, and there's no accountability.
No. Oh, that's another thing the left does. The left will say, we're not following that. We're not doing it.
Yeah,
and if they're in this liberal enclave, right, like California, Colorado. Well, Colorado used to be a red state of California. Everybody's on the same page. It's just like in Philadelphia, where they were kicking out the observers, and they brought in the sheriff to kick out the observer. I mean, the whole system is corrupt. It's rotten. So they're all working together. Atlanta. What are the two counties? It's DeKalb County and Forsyth. Was it Forsyth?
DeKalb County and Forsyth County. Yep.
Yeah. It's just a corrupt system in there. And then you saw at the state level, at the very, very top, we have some corruption there too. Mm-hmm. Right. So, it's a mess. It's a mess. And this is what the left does. So then when we have people on our side trying to play by the Marquess of Queensberry rules, right, and playing fast and free because they're afraid that they may have some bad things said about them, upholding our Constitution and defending our country.
Yeah,
right? They flip. So,
well, and that's what we're talking about when it came to the voting. If we're going to abide by the rules as written, and the Democrats are pulling, cards out of their sleeves, poker chips out of their socks, and whatever, it's not going to be a fair competition. And I hate to say, if they're going to fight dirty, we have to fight dirty too. But if you don't, you're going to lose. If they're not being hit.
Have we decided that we're going to abide by the rules that are written?
Well, I'm just saying in general.
Well, hey, the dude abides, man. The dude abides.
The dude abides.
I was trying to figure out a way to set that up.
So, what else do you have that you were wanting to talk about gun wise? Was there anything you wanted to besides
last time we threw it out to the audience a little bit about what they wanted. I don't know if we got anything on that, but I just figured we'd talk about some cool gun stuff and see what people wanted to talk about. New guns that are coming out, opinions on upgrades, anything. Maybe some training stuff. I kind of want to put it out there and see if the audience wants to take a break from some of the current events and politics and talk about stuff that I'm pretty sure most of us think are cool, So that's one of those things that are out there. I continue to look at IDPA is pretty much I really like IDPA except for some stupid rules they have, right? And if you guys get a chance, not everybody has IDPA. USPSA is probably still a little more popular than IDPA, a little, but it all depends on where in the country you are. Okay. And the reason why I kind of like IDPA is IDPA has tactics to it, like defensive tactics. And it also places a higher premium on accuracy. Okay.
Okay.
So IDPA isn't as quite as fast as USPSA. USPSA, it's anything goes, right? You just get the rounds on target as fast as you can possibly. Now, you know, having them accurate does help, but the way their scoring is, depending on, you know, what power factor you're running in this, there's no benefit to being all alphas, right? Whereas IDPA, there is absolutely a benefit to being all alphas. Now, the thing with IDPA is you can't run in front of a target. You would have to take them. They have rules in place that basically, you know, if you're out in the open, you have to shoot near to far, right? Common sense rules. If you are shooting from around a barrier, you have to cut the pie, which means you take the targets in the position they appear. Yeah, right. But they have some goofy, antiquated rules that are optic guns. You can only load 11 rounds in your first magazine that you start with and 10 in the subsequent. You cannot drop empty magazine, or you cannot drop a magazine on the ground with ammo in it, right? You can take it out and you can stow that magazine, right? But you can't drop a magazine with ammo in it. It has to be empty, right? I don't like that rule. I think it's stupid, right? And the 11 round rule, or the 10 round rule, I think is stupid. But beyond that, and you can't air gun when you're practicing. Like if you can only do a walkthrough when they do the full walkthrough. You can't walk through on your own, and you can't air gun, which is goofy. But beyond that, I generally like it better. And the scoring is easier. So they have a big circle in the middle, and that's like your alpha zone if you're used to like USPSA. I don't know how I got on the subject talking about it, but I figured it would be something.
Well, I got a question for you, Matt. Troy posted. He was talking dot color, green or red.
I like both, but here's what's important, and I'm glad he brought this up. I know that the modern thing, especially with competition guns, a lot of guys don't run iron sights. On all my guns, I continue to run iron sights, and I want them usable, right? If you go with a red dot, and I like a blacked out, like for iron sights, I like a blacked out rear, and I like a fiber optic front. It's very, very important that if you go with a red dot, you don't have a red fiber optic on the front. So when you start calling your shot, it'll confuse the hell out of you. So if you go with a green or a yellow with a red, that's great. If you have a green dot, make sure you have a red or some other bright color that's distinguishable from green, so you're not getting confused when you're calling your shots. But I've shot both. I like both. Some people say that the human eye picks up green better, and maybe it does. But shooting through a red, I know a green laser definitely picks up better. Shooting through a red dot, I don't know if it makes as much of a difference. I think it just comes down to personal preference. How about you, Stu? I mean, you've shot both.
I've never shot with green. I've only shot with red. So if the human eye does pick up green better, I'm probably not good enough that fraction of a second of picking it up better makes a difference. I'm not good enough for that to make a difference.
Well, it's not. I don't think it's picking it up on speed. I think it's when you superimpose it on a target, your eye can see green easier than it sees red.
Maybe I'll take and buy a green just to try it out. But I've always done red. That's just the first one I got, because I have astigmatism, and the EOTechs I can't use because it's too it's a starburst. It's too pixelated.
The EOTechs, because the EOTech, the whole thing with the EOTech, they were more of a prismatic, which wasn't supposed to affect astigmatism. I've heard somebody else say this with EOTechs too. because I have a slight astigmatism. I can use EOTech. I don't like the company, so I don't use EOTech anymore because I don't like the company and what they did. We've talked about it on here a million times. But some of the companies out there, like I've talked about these Siley red dots. Siley's like Hollow Sun. And one of my favorite red dots that they make, I think they make the best micro dot, to be honest with you. SIG makes the best one, the Romeo X. Okay. Yeah. Outside of the SIG, which is a premium optic, I think the best one out there, because it's large, is it's even bigger than the EPS. It's they call it the CAT EDG, I think, or EDs. It's enclosed. It's fully enclosed, and it's a massive optic in the RMSC cut pattern. Right? It's a little bigger than the full-size EPS, which is another one I really like for a small optic. But this Siley Ghost is what I use, and it's a little bit bigger. It's a round. It's a little bit bigger than an SRO. And whatever they're doing with the dots, one hit on it, it could be a touch brighter, but it's definitely usable, right? But their dot is they have some anti-stigmatism technology. And for the stigmatism that I have, I can see these dots a little more crisp. I can also see an SRO dot, but SROs are so damn expensive, and they're quite fragile, to be honest with you. But for something that they're doing with that, it's a very easy dot to pick up for me. I think the EPS is too. I think that dot's pretty good.
Well, that was why for the longest time I never gave red dots a thought, because EOTech was the first one. Somebody had loaned me one. They had one on their AR, and I was thinking about getting. He's like, "Here, take my gun, shoot it, see what you think." And I would bring it up, and because it would pixelate and starburst, I couldn't see anything. I'm like, okay, well, this isn't for me, and I just went on with whatever. And then I was at a gun shop in Tallahassee, and they had Hollow Sun there. And I was like, let me see that. And I'm looking through it, and I asked him, I'm like, is this the actual dot or is this a sticker on here? He's like, no, that's the actual dot. I was like, I want one. Because I could see it was a crisp dot. So I've stuck with Hollow Sun, because I'm not going to buy something without knowing if I can see it. If I've got one to look at and try, I'll give it a shot. But I'm not gonna spend the money on a maybe. So I'm just kind of stuck with Hollow Sun.
These Siley are out of Georgia. It's a Chinese company. They're Chinese, but they have prop-proof optics, so they're guaranteed, and their warranty, they claim, is just like Vortex's warranty. Okay, so the one that I have, it'll say shock-proof, and they've tested it with a 45-ounce gun from 6 feet on concrete, right? And I'll let you shoot that Ghost, and they do a tremendous, I think it's like 20, they do like a 20% off for military law enforcement.
Oh, wow.
And you have them in a day. I don't know how they do it. Even if I'm up in Wisconsin, they're coming from Georgia, I have that thing within a day and a half, 2 days, right? And everybody that's ordered one since that I've told about these, the same, they're like, I got it within a day, you know?
Wow.
So it seems pretty good. And they send you a whole slew of, they send you like 50 screws with them. But I'm starting to see these things show up more and more and more, because they're pretty damn good optics. They're the new Hollow Sun. They're not cheap. They're not cheap. Now, they do make some that I wouldn't buy, but I buy the reinforced drop-proof ones. And the Ghost is really, it's just a good sight picture. And with the discount, they're like $200. So they're not cheap, but they're not expensive, and they are durable. So
right. Well, we've got Troy said, to me, green is like a naked lady. It's hard not to stare at it. Freedom's used both. He likes green. And Troy said, it's funny how most of us didn't know what astigmatism was until we got a red dot.
That's true. And you know what?
I always knew at night I had like the halos around lights, but I thought it was just a thing. I didn't even realize not everybody saw that until, I found out about the astigmatism because
here's the funny thing. We were led to believe that astigmatism was pretty rare. I don't know too many people that don't have some sort of an astigmatism. Chris has one. Right. I have one slightly. You have one. I mean, almost everybody I know has some sort of an astigmatism, So the funny thing is with the EO tag is I remember when we were overseas and stuff, because we all had our preferences on what we use. I like the EO tag because I like the circle dot, and the way you zeroed these things was the circle was your hold off. So you'd zero, in the military, you usually zero at 25. So it's 25 yard zero. So for CQB, the circle, the bottom of the circle was your hold off, right? And that's why I liked it. But I know Chris always hated the EO tech. And another guy is on my team, they like the aim points. Trigicon had a really good optic. That it was one of the first red dots that was tritium powered, and it was called, I believe, an ACOG at the time. But this was back in the early 2000s, and it was their reflex, their 24. They sold it up until a couple of years ago. Then they replaced it with the ACOG that was powered, magnified. But this was a basic red dot that was tritium and fiber optic, and you could throw those things off the side of a mountain and they worked. So, but Trigicon is a funny company because I always really liked Trigicon.
I like them too. I just can't afford them.
Well, I think lately they've sort of jumped the shark in a lot of stuff because their optics seem like they're starting to fall behind a little bit. Still durable with the exception of the SRO, but it's not meant to be durable. It's meant to be just a competition. But they brought out a couple of new generations that were to replace the RMR, and they're flops. I know a police department that bought a bunch of them and paid top dollar for those things, and they're having nothing but trouble with them. And I had a 1-4 AccuPoint that was a great optic, but the tritium started going after a couple of years. It's supposed to last 14 years or something. The tritium starts. You could hardly see it. And I do have an MRO, and I think it's a good optic, but I know a lot of people don't like those. I like the size of the window on it. It's a good optic, and it's been a reliable optic. But I think they've gotten so expensive, and I think if you want an American red dot right now, or I would look hardcore at SIG. I mean, I think SIG make the best. I wish they would make bigger windows, to be honest with you, on their ruggedized optics. Like the Romeo X.
I think that's a Romeo that's on my GTO.
Yeah, you've got a Romeo X. You've got the fully enclosed one, right?
Yeah.
But the window, I mean, on your GTO, that works, right? I wish they would make that window a little bit bigger on that. So you have the option.
The window's probably about the same size as my EPS carry.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what it is right there.
Yeah, I mean, and it's as far as a durable quality optic, you're not going to beat that. I've seen somebody pound nails in with this thing on YouTube.
That bothers me. I can't. That bothers me. I can't watch that.
Yeah, and the way SIG attaches those from the bottom, and they're a great optic.
I don't like is it's not the shake awake. So I've got to remember to turn it off.
It has shake awake. I promise you it does. It's got MOTAC on it. Yes, 100% it does.
Well, okay. You may be right. I didn't think it was because it had the power switch and all on it, but I'll double check.
All of theirs have MOTAC. I promise you it does. That's it, but that's a fantastic optic. I mean, I just wish they'd make it a little bigger. Now, I'll tell you what, the best optic in the sun that I own is a Romeo 1 Pro. And I have the shroud on it, for protection, because that's not safe, right? But with the shroud on it, it gives it significance. It's a steel shroud. But
got to use protection.
that's got a great window, great size window, and it is the best optic in the sun. Okay? It gets bright. The SRO gets super bright too. I have to tell you, that gets really, but the SRO gets, you get some weird shit in the glass with it, in my experience, right? But the Romeo 1 Pro, not the Romeo 1, the Romeo 1 Pro is a very good bright sun optic, red dot. So, but I was talking about IDPA, and I think I stopped with the rules. I was talking about the targets and how easy it is to score, right? So you have a big, the alpha zone, which is a big circle in the middle, right? So you want to get everything in there. If you're just outside that circle, like in USPSA, it's called the Charlie. There is no Bravo. Don't ask me why. But if you're in the Charlie zone, okay, on an IDPA target, that's 1 down, okay? Then if you're in the Delta zone, that's 3 down, right? So this is how you know it's super easy to score, because if you have your time and you have 2 down through the whole stage, they add 2 seconds to your time, right? Easy, super easy, right? Because then you have to deal with hit factor in USPSA, which gets confusing as shit. I don't even know it, right? So
just tell me what I scored.
Yeah, and IDPA uses they use a little bit of steel, but not a lot of steel. They use a lot of hostage targets, right? And manipulate it in specific ways, right? And if you hit a hostage, that's 5, right?
Yeah.
And if you get a procedural, it's 3. So if you drop a magazine that has ammo in it, that's 3. 3 seconds added onto your time. That's a big deal.
That's huge.
Yeah. So the rules take a little bit of getting used to, and I wish they would change a few of them. But I like the concept. And you're not shooting slow, but you're shooting more deliberate in IDPA than you are in USPSA.
You were saying with USPSA, you have a different target area than you do with IDPA. You said it's a round target area, but you're shooting the same.
No, IDPA's got the round one. USPSA has the rectangular A zone.
Oh, I got it backwards. Okay.
Yeah.
So USPSA has the round ones, but are you still shooting on the IDPA silhouette targets? It's just marked. How big what's the circumference of the mark?
Boy, that was a good question. I'm going to say, do you see how my hands are right here? That's about how wide it is. Yes. Okay. It's like, I'm going to say it's like a 10-inch circle. I'm going to say, I don't know. Don't quote me on that. But I think it's a 10-inch circle. That is the alpha. Okay. Right. And then you have another one on the head. Right.
Because what I was doing with some stuff, I was putting like a stapling an 8-inch paper plate to the target and using that.
That's perfect. I love paper plates. Somebody told me something like when you shoot steel, because in USPSA you shoot a little more steel than you do in IDPA. Somebody said something that makes sense, especially if you're doing steel challenge or if you're shooting a lot of steel, action steel, USPA, any of that. Shoot the steel like you'd shoot the paper, right? And what that means is concentrate on getting good hits, okay? Because we tend to get sloppy with the steel, right?
So all you got to do is make it ting.
Yeah.
So Troy said it's an 8-inch circle. So
is it 8-inch?
That's what Troy said.
Okay.
He's saying that the IDPA 5x5 classifier is great for training. What is the 5x5 classifier?
Oh boy.
Is that a story for a different day?
No, I don't know what the hell it is. That's why I'm saying you're going to ask me another question that I don't know. The 5x5 classifier, and I'm pretty sure that I've done it.
Well, we're already over for time, so Matt has his homework.
Have Troy explain that. Have Troy explain the 5x5 classifier before we go.
All right. Can you type something real quick, Troy? Or let me see if I can find anything. IDPA 5x5.
It might be the 5 targets set up where you're standing in a box. I think we may have done it. Yeah. Monday. I shot one last night.
All right. It's saying the 5x5 String 1, draw and fire 5 shots freestyle. String 2, draw and fire 5 shots using strong hand only. String 3, start with 5 rounds in your gun, draw and shoot five shots, emergency reload, and fire 5 additional shots freestyle. String 4 is draw and fire 4 shots to the body and 1 shot to the head. What do they call? What is IDPA calling freestyle?
I don't know. That's because I've never done this classifier for IDPA. That sounds more like a law enforcement certification, but it probably came from IDPA because IDPA is not about gaming as much as they are about tactics. Yeah.
Because I mean, that's what they're saying. 10 yards from the target, there's your 2 circles.
Yeah.
On the target. Target height set at 5 foot. Cover garment optional. Scoring is limited. So that's it.
Oh, that's the other thing with IDPA. You have a cover garment. Okay. So a lot of guys wear those vests, like upland shooting type vest because
photographer vest.
Yeah, photographers. So it's easy to get out of the way. A lot of guys do it from their concealment because they want to practice, shooting from their concealment position. I love shooting both, to be honest with you, but IDPA makes more sense to me. I also, I just think because when you shoot USPSA, all of those, these guys get so fast in USPSA.
Dude, it's lunacy.
Yeah. You sort of throw tactics out the window.
Yeah.
Tactics, like in a shooting scenario. And I think, while IDPA doesn't really replicate a real life shootings, nothing can, right? Yeah. But it keeps you thinking.
It's a 2-way shooting range, and that you run out of contestants pretty quick.
Yeah. But it keeps you thinking about those tactics that you should be utilizing cover and how you shoot the targets when you present to them, how you shoot targets. Technically the nearest target is going to be the most immediate target out in the open, but not necessarily. But I don't have a problem with that, right? I don't have a problem with cutting the pot. I like all of that. I think we've gone past the antiquated dropping because that used to be, you never leave a loaded magazine on the battlefield, right? That was like folklore from 40, 30 years ago, right? Which isn't really today. You're not thinking, you're thinking about the gunfight. You're not thinking about dropping a magazine. And you want to do a tactical mag reload. So you want to make sure you don't ever run out of ammo. And I think this goes to the opposite of that. So
and you don't want to train to be wasting time in an emergency situation, to have that ingrained training and muscle memory of stowing magazines, and then you want to get reloaded and get your attention back at the potential threat rather than dick around with worrying about dropping a magazine.
And the most important thing is it makes you focus on your marksmanship, right? Because shooting USPSA all the time, which is what I was doing, you can tend to get a little bit sloppy, right? Yeah. And if you're sloppy, if you try to shoot IDPA like USPSA, okay, unless you are like a super world-class talent, that just
feeling hurt.
Yeah, that you're going to have a real hard time because you're going to be like 3 down, 2 down, 4, and they'll be like, holy shit. Where to be competitive on a 4-stage match, you really can't be more than 5 down, right, for the whole night, right? Yeah. And in USPSA, that's not how. If you don't get enough Charlies, you're not going fast enough in USPSA, right? So it's that combination of speed but accuracy is really what's important. For me personally, I prefer IDPA, but I like both. And I like Steel Challenge too. I think if you're going to get into competition, Steel Challenge is probably the less intimidating way to get into competition. And then once you realize you start doing it, you're what was I intimidated for? Yeah, there's guys that are truly gifted. Like if you watch a grandmaster shoot or a master in USPSA, right? Shoot, you're like, holy shit. Everybody here's like Jerry Michalik. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I'm talking about experienced shooters. You come to these events and you're like, holy smokes, you know. But you realize, and then you start to get yourself, you know, if I was a police chief of a police department, I would encourage my guys to have a team and go and compete. I would encourage that because it really puts stress on you. It's fun, but it really gets your shooting skills down. You know, they're already doing it. I know a lot of the SF groups, they already have 3-gun teams and USPSA and IDPA teams and stuff like that. I'm sure the SEALs are doing the same thing.
Yeah.
But law enforcement should do this, you know. But yeah, I do see guys that'll show up from departments that are like buddies and they're gun guys, you know, and those guys, the law enforcement has the whole gamut. They'll have excellent shooters and then they'll have people that only train when they're paid to train and they suck, right? So, which is a shame. I think everybody, you carry a firearm, it's your responsibility to train yourself, not just the 4 times a year your department has training. It's on you. You carry that every day. And if you need to use it, you better know how to use it, you know.
Well, Troy, he clarified, he said 2 hands is shooting with both hands is what they're calling freestyle. That's the term they're using. And he said it's the tactical fishing vest.
Yes, that's what it is. It's this goofy vest. You get it out of the way. That's a useful skill, though. That is a useful skill. If you're concealed carrying and you're going to have to use, you've got to be able to clear the garment to get the firearm out. So I know a lot of people complain and bitch about that, but it's a useful skill into competition. And this is why I lean more towards IDPA. So,
well, all right, we're 17 minutes over. You want to close this out?
Yeah. Hey, thanks guys for joining us. Thanks for getting involved in the conversation with the guns. I know Troy and Freedom were both involved in that. I just figure the gun thing, if you guys like it, let us know. I just figure it's something to sort of talking about the politics stuff. I mean, while we need to talk about it and make sure that we're out there pushing because we need to win these midterms, right? But sometimes we need a break on things we enjoy. So if it, I enjoy a bunch of things, not just guns. If you guys want to talk about other things, give us ideas. Stu and I have a lot of very similar interests. That's how Stu and I met, you know,
motorcycles.
Yeah. So, but we're
RC-51s to be specific.
Exactly right. But we're both gun guys through and through. And so we can talk about this stuff all day long. So if you guys like it, let us know. If you just want to stick with the politics, we can do that too. But I like to have a little bit of fun too. But thank you guys for being here. Thank you for taking part. Thank you for being a patriot. And I appreciate every single one of you. And live in freedom every day. That's what the life stands for. We'll see you guys next week. Stu, you have anything you want to say?
Yeah, just want to again thank Troy for the discussion prompt. That was fun. It was something that I wouldn't have thought of, and it's amazing. You start talking about colors of sights, and it leads into other stories, other conversation, other anecdotes. So definitely appreciate that. And Freedom, thank you. It's happy 4th, 250 years.
Absolutely. Holy smokes, guys. Yeah. Yep. How could we 250? I remember our 200 Stu. I remember being out and celebrating. I was a little kid. I was like 5. The 200th. This is unreal.
You're old as shit, Matt.
And it is unreal that I can think about that. We lived in Chicago the first time in a place called Bloomingdale. Yeah, I remember it like it wasn't that long ago. Right? The Muppets were big. Remember the Muppet TV show?
I do.
So, yeah, I remember my neighbor always had those RC planes, and I was enthralled with those. My dog Brutus, he was a big Great Dane. Yeah, I remember all of that. It seems like it was not 50 years ago. not a half a
Well,
century.
Troy's right there with you. He says 1976. Remember it well.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. We absolutely appreciate the support and the viewership. We love the conversation. And, maybe Matt and I'll just sit down and try and brainstorm a couple little gun topics and questions and, some little polarizing, things that people think, believe, whatever, and just discuss and give you our 2 cents on them as kind of our little gun topics of the week.
All right, guys.
Thank you, everyone. See you next week, and happy 4th.
Live in freedom every day. Happy 4th.